morning. My name is Rachel McKeel, and welcome to So You Think You Can Write. Today we will be joined by three well-known authors, Richard Kirwan and Alan Mendler, co-authors of Discipline with Dignity, and Kathy Roedner, author of Managing Your Classroom with Heart. First, we will be talking to Dr. Kirwan and Dr. Mendler to get things started. Welcome, Dr. Kirwan and Dr. Mendler. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Rachel. It's my pleasure to be here.
Let's get right to it. What is your education, Dr. Kirwan?
I received my BA in English at University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and then I got my education degree at Boston State College. And after that, I went back to the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, for my Doctorate of Education.
And what has your professional career looked like?
I've had a lot of experience with discipline. I taught grade 7 English and an emotionally disturbed class. I was professor at Education of State University in New York and San Francisco State University as well. I've also done workshops and seminars worldwide. I've delivered them in the US, Canada, Belgium, Germany, Japan, Singapore, and Israel. I've also written 13 books to help teachers build better classrooms, and I've won 2 awards throughout my career. One in 1995, the Spirit of the Crazy Horse Award for courage in reaching discouraged youth, and the second in 2007 for my video series, The 4 Keys to Effective Classroom and Behavior Management. I won the Best Technology Award of the Association of Educational Publishers Awards.
And Dr. Mendler, what is your educational background?
I have a PhD in education from Union College and have spent over 25 years developing the Discipline with Dignity classroom management method. I have written and co-written 15 books, and now I'm a school psychologist in Rochester, New York. And then Ryan Mendler, the third co-author, is an elementary and special education teacher with much experience, and he is now a professor of behavior management.
Those are some impressive resumes. What do you do now?
I'm currently the director of the master's program in behavior disorder at David Yellin College in Jerusalem. I also spend a lot of my time with my 3 children and 7 grandchildren.
And Dr. Kirwan, what led you to write this book?
My 2 colleagues and I wrote this book because I enjoy exploring discipline, behavior management, and motivation. I believe there are many unproductive class management strategies, and after much research and experience, we want to share our method. For example, we often hear teachers tell their students to stop doing things. Stop talking, stop laughing, stop moving around, stop. Instead of telling kids to stop, structure a time and place for them to do the behavior. For example, if kids are talking for 15 minutes, a teacher might say, guys, right now the talking is excessive. However, I like that you want to talk to each other, and I'll give you some time to do this every day. So which 5 minutes would you prefer to talk? In the beginning, the middle, the end of class? Allow them to decide which 5 minutes they will take. After the class decides, let them know that you trust that they will stop talking after 5 minutes, and you will not even have to tell them when their time is up. During their 5 minutes of talking, you can now talk with them, get to know them better, build relationships you might not make on a daily basis.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Kirwan and Dr. Mendler. We'll come back to you in a moment. And now we will bring up Kathy Roedner, author of Managing Your Classroom with Heart. Welcome, Mrs. Roedner.
Thank you.
Mrs. Roedner, let's get right into the interview. What is your education?
I got my BA in English and the master degree at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia.
And what has your professional career looked like?
I started out as a high school English teacher. Then I started working at Central Piedmont Community College, where I taught writing and worked part-time as a guidance counselor. I've written 2 books for classroom management, and my book, Managing Your Classroom with Heart, is an ASCD bestseller and an Association of Education Publisher finalist.
And what do you do now?
I'm currently living in Dublin, Ireland, with my husband and 3 sons, and we've been doing conferences and workshops.
What led you to write this book?
Teaching has a high turnover rate for teachers. I left the profession after my 2nd year, from being burned out and returned to teacher the next year after the revelation that if I expected my student to change, I had to be willing to change as well. I wrote this book to help with the high turnover rate of beginning teachers. I use my personal experience to encourage new teachers to use specific classroom management methods to not only survive the transition into teaching, but also to thrive in it.
Thank you, Mrs. Ridnewer. Now, we're going to bring out Dr. Kerwin and Dr. Mendler, and we will have a debate about these two impressive books. So we're going to come back and have the other two authors join us for a little bit of a group discussion. So if Dr. Mendler and Dr. Kerwin would like to come in back and join us, have a seat, that would be great.
Excuse me, can you move over? It's important for me to be in this.
I think I was sat here first, so...
Can you move a little bit?
Okay, guys,
There's no
Don't be
room.
touching my co-author.
There's
Come
no
on now.
room for
Seriously?
me.
Obviously, you didn't read your book if you're acting like that.
Your book was awful.
Oh, no.
Our book was awesome.
Get out. Seriously.
I think
You don't
it's
deserve to be here.
because
No. She did ours
Okay, I
first.
first
She did
divorced
ours
you,
first.
so
Okay,
I'm
seriously. No, just like get off.
Excuse
Seriously.
me.
Move.
I'm like,
Yeah. So,
Excuse me? You think you're too good for us? Get off the couch! No room! Oh my god!
now that we are back from a quick break, I would like to steer our direction of this discussion with these three authors towards the philosophies behind each of their books. So let's start with you, Dr. Mendler. What would you say is the main philosophy that your book stands for?
My book illustrates that prevention is the way to handle misbehavior more so than handling what happens after the incident occurs. The goal is to stop bad behavior before it starts, and having a good and solid plan set in place for your students to follow. I care about the development of students as people, not just as factors to pump out information.
And Ms. Ridnewer, how would you describe the philosophy behind your writing?
I would say that my philosophy is to tackle the problem as they come and to other things once you know more about the behavior that you are dealing with. The prevention method is good, but I prefer to look at ways to react to behavior rather than coming up with ways to prevent it from occurring.
So, Dr. Kerwin, how do you section off the portions of your book?
My book is laid out in a very structured form, giving the main headings that illustrate main points. Some sections have small subheadings, but for the most part, the title of the chapter is what is contained within it, and content rarely strays.
Mine is much more detailed than that. I have my main chapters and section heading and then several subheadings. Under each of those, oftentimes the title of a subheading is only followed by a short paragraph, so it's easy to summarize what that part is about by just looking at a subheading. I think this makes my information more accessible in ways.
I see. And what is the target age group that your book is concerned with Dr. Kerwin?
My book's main concern is for children of a younger age group and the ways in which their behavioral development affects them in this stage in their life.
And you?
Where her book is more directed towards younger children, mine focuses on the problem that one may face at high school level and how to cope with that.
In general, what do you all believe is the best practice that comes with classroom, like managing a classroom?
That's easy.
Let me read you this section from my book. It tells you all you need to know about managing a classroom. It's really easy to jump on every little infraction with harsh work. It's much more challenging to give a student time and space to correct the behavior. Of course, this doesn't mean you stand back and watch students fight, hoping they will stop eventually. But what about that little chat with students or the sleeping one? A few looks and a few shoulder squeezes are very effective and do not cause the negative emotion that a shh or sit up do. Sometimes other students will intervene and relieve you of some of the burden of classroom management. It's always nice to have a kid in a class who is naturally there and also on your side. With a little encouragement, that kid is likely to accept a leadership role in the class.
I would like to read a section from your guys' book, Discipline with Dignity, that further demonstrates its contents and my concerns, and your guys' concerns with classroom management. So, the section goes, all of us, regardless of our generation, grapple with our world, our society, our families, our friends, and ourselves. We believe that school can give children the gift of making sense of it all and receiving the necessary tools to allow them not only to rise above it, but to make things better for others.
That really sums up our book in a nutshell.
Well, I believe that is a good note to end on today. I hope that you found this episode very informative, and please join us next week when we have a lively discussion on integrating art in the classroom.
Oh my god, I messed up. Okay, just cut it now.
Yeah, I'm not ready. Just wait, no, it's okay. It's okay, keep it.
Okay, wait.
Keep doing it. Wait a minute. I thought it was going to be good, and it's just not.
Next time we will choose chocolate.
Focus, guys, focus.